stop gazing at the mirror. That was the sharp, shrill voice of my mother, which actually deterred me from doing what I was doing. This was not a one-off situation or one-off episode of me doing this. It had become a habit. I used to look straight into my eyes, into the mirror, and ask questions as to who am I? What is life? Where do I belong? What is inside me? These questions were constantly running in my mind. And when my mother came to know about it, she was shocked. She had not expected a child, her own child, who was as young as 7, would ask such questions. She told me that it is good to look into the mirror just to get dressed. After that, there is no need to look into the mirror. But I had got addicted. I used to constantly look into those black eyes of mine just to figure out, will I find an answer sometime? And just at that point of time when I was thinking that I'm going into that expansiveness, into understanding what I was looking for, it was her voice which stopped me. With undisclosed disappointment, I followed her instructions and slowly walked behind her. 2 years later, I had an opportunity to be all by myself at home. And I really didn't understand how my feet took me to the mirror, and I gazed straight into my eyes, looking for those answers, going into that trance which made me more at home. At that point of time, my mother came in home after almost 2 hours, and she was surprised, shocked, because this concept was still running in my mind. The very next day, all the mirrors in the house, we had 3 of them, were put up on a height where I couldn't see into them. Life went on just like any other child would have lived their life. There was nothing abnormal except for this habit of mine. Age 12, an episode in my life shattered the whole of the family. I had developed typhoid, and typhoid was happening in such a way that it was getting difficult to handle. My brother had contacted typhoid, and then it was me. However, our physician said, it is okay, we can handle the case at home. And on the night of the 3rd day of me in confinement, I started vomiting. The vomiting became profuse. The doctor was called in again. And he gave me a very simple, harmless medicine, which is also given to children, called as the sequel injection. This injection was given to me, and it was that I would be fine in some time. But however, I guess this physical matter of mine, the body, did not accept it well. I started having convulsions. My back became stiff. My head would just move behind. My fists were getting clenched. And my mother saw this, and she was shattered. She didn't know what to do, either handle me or call the doctor again. At that point of time, my oldest brother, he ran and called in the doctor. When the doctor came in, he said, this case looks difficult. We need to rush her to the hospital. At that point of time, my dad was again touring for his business. So it was my siblings and my mother. With great difficulty, they somehow managed to put me into the car and rush me to the hospital. But all along, as I was in that stage of convulsing, suddenly I found something shoot out from my body, and that was what made me feel painless. I was nowhere attached to that matter called body. I could see my whole self there down and me floating about it. And I was floating. It was a space of peace, a space of calmness, a state of bliss, a state of homecoming. And I could see all those emotions which were getting upheavaled, which were being expressed out, the stress which all the people around me were actually experiencing, but somehow I was not getting deterred by it. I was not connected to it. When this particular episode happened, I felt, was this the answer I was looking for? Was this the homecoming I was looking for? I was rushed to the hospital, and I could see myself put on the stretcher and taken to the emergency ward, the doctors working to revive me. And at that point of time, I could hear my mother sitting and chanting. She was chanting the name of the divine to help at this point of crisis. The doctor said nothing much can be done. We need to take a call. And that is when she came up with full aggression and said, this is not what I expect, and I want to get the discharge papers ready. I do not want you to treat my daughter, and I want to take her to another hospital, and I'm sure she's going to revive. I do not want to go by your belief or your knowledge, but I just want to take this case off your hands. It is at that point of time the doctors suddenly felt there was a voice from within this lady, and they really couldn't do much about resisting her from doing what she wanted to do. I was rushed to another hospital called as St. Philomena's Hospital, and it was quite far from St. Martha's Hospital where I was put in. The doctors there started working on me. I could see all of them coming together. And there was one pediatrician who was very, very sure. He was like an angel who told my mother, I believe in you, and I know with your belief and with what knowledge I have, we will revive her. 4 days of this comatose was a journey for me. On one side, there were people working on my physical body to get me out of the situation, and on the other side, it was that part of me which was enjoying being out there. It was an expansiveness that connected to the whole of this consciousness, understanding that I'm no different from the cosmic energies which we are in. There is no difference between you and me. That whole thing coming together made me feel so comfortable, it made me feel at home. And the other side of me, that mind telling me, no, it's time to come back. You cannot go. You are here. You, the body you are looking down, is what you are. And at that point of time, this whole tussle was so much of a catastrophe in my mind. It was a place where I could say, wherein much of balance was needed. Somehow, I guess, this brain of mine, the left brain which was telling me that this is me, somehow won and brought me into the body. Now, the very big question which constantly came into my mind was this expansiveness, this connectedness, I would say this whole of the energy which I was feeling was so much to be imprisoned into this body which I could see. The small body, how will it hold this expansive energy? Somehow, an understanding came to me that we are beings of a spirit which holds a body and not a body which holds a spirit. After 4 days, when I was revived and I opened my eyes for the very first time after this experience, I could see people as animations moving around me. They were more like colors, and connecting to them became very difficult. It was more like an identity which was not being understood by me itself. So how would I even connect to people? The physical aspect of connection was getting lost. I couldn't understand language clearly. I couldn't see people clearly. In fact, even my vision was more towards clairvoyance and clairsentience. I could hear voices, but I couldn't hear what people were talking. I lost the taste. The food which was given, in fact, was just the mild liquids which were given. I couldn't even understand the taste. I couldn't recollect that the touch of my mother. It felt so different. It took almost 6 months for me to revive. And when I revived, I understood one thing, that we are holding that expansive energy within us. When I went back to school, it was grade 7 when I went back to school, and I just shared this experience with my friends, and they said, you've probably gone cuckoo, you don't know what you're talking. It's not possible that you could have gone somewhere and you've come into the body. Of course, the nuns, because I studied in a convent, the nuns said, child, we truly understand what you underwent, and this is a gift. You have brought back a beautiful gift. Stay with it, stay with this energy. Post this episode, things started moving beautifully. I could manifest very easily. I did not lose a year of my education. I would read something, it would just go into me, and I would be able to recollect. I could see something and it could just happen. The music, because I was born in a family which was inclined to music, and my mom was a 3rd generation musician, it was very beautifully coming out through me. The voice trainings became beautiful. And everything which I wanted would manifest just like this, at a snap of a finger. I became very, very aware. I became more mindful, and conscious living became a way of my life. I was aware that if I'm looking for manifesting something, I need to be very clear, because it would manifest. At this point of time, the education continued, and all my projections in life, perspectives of life were very different. With this aspect, I understood that there is something within us which connects to us, and for me, it was the expansiveness. And every time I would play the music, every time I would listen to music, every time I would sing, I would go back to that zone. bring back the energies, and then radiate it to all the people through my talks, in my seminars, through the trainings. In fact, auto writing became a part of me. I wrote books. When I was writing the books, I could say one thing, it was as if I was just a medium. When I talk, I'm just a medium. Because that connectedness of understanding made me more of a compassionate person. Any person speaking ill wouldn't matter to me. Every episode of life, good, bad, was taken in equanimity. I moved from a zone of duality to non-duality in those little aspects of my life. And I want to give this message to the world, and I shared this story with the world just with the thought that if we can become that compassionate human being who is connected to the cosmos, who's connected to one another, we could probably make a better world for ourselves. We need to choose. Is it our left brain who wants to say, this is me, or the right brain which says, we are all part of the cosmos and we are all here to help one another stay connected and create a beautiful world with the words of compassion. Thank you so much.